Lieutenant Jack Thorne sat at the helm of the exploratory vessel Endeavour, gazing at the mesmerizing expanse of space through the viewports. His crew, a mix of seasoned officers and eager rookies, buzzed with the excitement of their latest mission, a routine reconnaissance into the uncharted regions beyond known space. Jack's thoughts drifted to the endless possibilities that lay ahead. Humanity had only recently unlocked the secrets of faster-than-light travel, opening up the galaxy to exploration and discovery. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates of the anomaly," reported Lieutenant Mia Roberts, the ship's astrogator. Her fingers danced over the control panel as she adjusted their course. Jack leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Put it on screen." The main display flickered to life, revealing a distant planet surrounded by a halo of shimmering light. The readings were unlike anything they had encountered before, an indication of advanced technology far beyond humanity's capabilities. "Interesting," Jack muttered. "Prepare a landing party. I want to see what's down there." The crew sprang into action, gathering equipment and readying a shuttle for descent. Jack selected a team of his best officers, including Mia, the stoic security chief Sergeant Marcus Reed, and Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's medical officer. As they descended through the planet's atmosphere, the landscape below came into view: lush forests, towering mountains, and structures that hinted at an advanced civilization. The shuttle touched down in a clearing near what appeared to be a city. As the hatch opened, the team stepped out, their senses heightened by the unfamiliar surroundings. The air was rich with the scent of alien flora, and the sounds of unknown creatures echoed in the distance. "Stay alert," Jack ordered. "We don't know what we're dealing with." They moved cautiously toward the city, their path illuminated by bioluminescent plants that glowed softly in the twilight. As they approached the outskirts, they were met by a group of beings, tall, slender, with skin that shimmered like opal in the fading light. Their eyes glowed with an inner light, and they moved with a grace that suggested both strength and intelligence. One of them stepped forward, a young woman who appeared almost human but exuded an ethereal presence. She spoke in a melodious language that resonated within their minds, bypassing the need for translation devices. "Welcome, travelers," she said, her voice like a soothing melody. "I am Serafina. We have been expecting you." Jack and his team exchanged wary glances. The fact that these beings had anticipated their arrival was both intriguing and unsettling. Jack stepped forward, meeting Serafina's gaze. "We come in peace," he said, choosing his words carefully. "We mean no harm, and seek only to understand." Serafina nodded, her expression serene. "We know. Your arrival was foretold in our ancient texts. You are here because the galaxy faces a grave threat, one that could destroy us all." As she spoke, she gestured for them to follow. They were led through the city, a marvel of organic architecture and advanced technology, seamlessly integrated into the natural environment. The Zelari, as they called themselves, lived in harmony with their surroundings, their society built on principles of balance and respect for all life. Serafina explained the nature of the threat. The Korgath, a brutal and expansionist race that had already conquered several worlds. The Zelari, though technologically advanced, were not warriors. They had long relied on their peaceful ways to navigate conflicts, but the Korgath knew no such restraint. "We have fought them before," Jack said, recounting humanity's own encounters with the Korgath. "They are relentless, but together we may stand a chance." Serafina's eyes glowed brighter. "We are willing to learn. Our survival depends on it, but there is more you need to know." She led them to a chamber deep within the city, where ancient holographic records played out the history of the Zelari. It was a story of peace and prosperity, but also of prophecy. Serafina, it turned out, was more than just a member of their society. She was their last princess, destined to lead her people through the darkest of times. Jack listened intently, the weight of their mission settling heavily on his shoulders. They had come seeking knowledge and found themselves on the front lines of a war for the galaxy's future. He glanced at Serafina, whose calm demeanor belied the immense burden she carried. "We will fight," he vowed. "Together we will find a way to stop the Korgath." The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Jack's crew and the Zolari worked side by side, preparing for the inevitable Korgath invasion. The Endeavor's advanced weaponry and tactical knowledge complemented the Zolari's superior technology. It was a partnership born of necessity, but not without its challenges. Cultural differences quickly surfaced. The Zolari valued harmony and consensus, while Jack's crew was accustomed to a more hierarchical, command-driven structure. Misunderstandings were frequent, tempers flaring as stress levels rose. One evening, as the team gathered for a strategy session, tensions reached a boiling point. Sergeant Marcus Reed, a no-nonsense soldier with a gruff demeanor, clashed with a Zolari elder over the allocation of resources. "We can't afford to waste time debating every decision," Marcus argued, his voice tight with frustration. "We need to act now if we want to survive." The elder, a wise and patient figure named Talar, remained calm. "We must consider all perspectives. Hasty decisions lead to unnecessary loss." Jack intervened, sensing the need to mediate. "Both of you are right. We need to balance urgency with careful planning. Let's find a way to combine our strengths." Serafina stepped forward, her presence immediately soothing the room. "We are all in this together. Our differences can be our greatest asset if we learn from each other." Gradually, the atmosphere shifted. The humans began to appreciate the Zolari's deliberative approach, while the Zolari grew to respect the humans' decisiveness. As they trained and strategized, a sense of camaraderie started to form. Jack and Serafina spent long hours together, discussing tactics and sharing stories of their respective worlds. He found himself drawn to her strength and wisdom, while she admired his courage and determination. Despite the looming threat, there was an undeniable connection between them. One night, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the city, Jack asked the question that had been on his mind since their first meeting. "Serafina, why do you trust us so readily? You barely know us." She turned to him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Because I see the same determination in you that I see in my people. We are bound by fate, Jack. I believe we were meant to find each other." The calm before the storm was filled with relentless preparation. Jack and Serafina's alliance grew stronger as they shared their knowledge and resources. The Zolari, though initially hesitant, began to embrace the humans' military strategies, while the humans learned to incorporate the Zolari's advanced technology. Jack's crew adapted quickly to the Zolari's tools and systems. They set up defensive perimeters around the city, utilizing energy barriers and automated drones. Mia and Dr. Vasquez worked closely with Zolari scientists to develop new medical treatments and augment their weaponry. The bond between Jack and Serafina deepened as they trained together. Serafina's unique abilities, a blend of advanced technology and innate power, fascinated and inspired Jack. She could manipulate energy fields, creating barriers and offensive blasts that could turn the tide of battle. As they sparred one evening, Jack marveled at her skill. "You're incredible, Serafina. With you by our side, we might just have a chance." She smiled, though her eyes were shadowed by worry. "I hope so, Jack. The Korgath are ruthless. We must be ready for anything." The tension among the Zolari was palpable. They were a peaceful people, unaccustomed to the rigors of war. Jack's crew did their best to train them, focusing on basic combat skills and tactics. Marcus led rigorous drills, pushing the Zolari to their limits. "We need to be prepared for close combat," Marcus stressed during a training session. "The Korgath won't give us the luxury of distance." Despite the grueling training, the Zolari showed remarkable resilience. Their determination to protect their home and loved ones fueled their efforts. Gradually, they began to transform from scholars and artisans into soldiers. Jack and Serafina worked tirelessly, planning their defense and coordinating with other Zolari settlements. They knew that the Korgath's arrival was imminent, and they had to be ready. One night, as they reviewed their strategy maps, Jack noticed Serafina's fatigue. "You should rest, Serafina. You've been pushing yourself too hard." She shook her head, her expression resolute. "I can't afford to rest, Jack. My people need me." He placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch gentle. "They need you strong. Don't forget that you're not alone in this. We all depend on each other." The day they had dreaded finally arrived. The Korgath warships emerged from hyperspace, their massive, ominous silhouettes casting dark shadows over the Zolari city. Alarms blared, and the city was thrown into a frenzy of activity. Jack and Seraphina stood side by side on the command platform, watching the enemy fleet approach. "This is it," Jack said grimly. "All units, prepare for battle." The sky darkened as the Korgath ships descended, their hulls bristling with weaponry. The Zolari's energy barriers activated, shimmering fields of light encasing the city. Defensive turrets and drones buzzed into position, ready to repel the invaders. The first wave of Korgath fighters streaked toward the city, their engines roaring. The air was filled with the sounds of laser fire and explosions as the battle began in earnest. Jack's crew fought valiantly, coordinating with the Zolari to hold the line. On the ground, Marcus led a squad of Zolari and human soldiers in a fierce firefight against Korgath ground troops. The clash of metal and the crackle of energy weapons echoed through the streets. Marcus's tactical prowess and the Zolari's newfound combat skills proved a formidable combination. Jack and Seraphina directed the defense from the command center, their minds working in perfect sync. "Divert power to the west barrier," Seraphina ordered. "They're focusing their attack there." "Done," Jack confirmed, his fingers flying over the control panel. "We've got incoming on the south side. Deploy drones to intercept." The battle raged on, each side suffering heavy losses. The Korgath's relentless assault seemed unstoppable, their sheer numbers overwhelming the defenders. Despite their best efforts, the energy barriers began to falter. As the situation grew dire, Seraphina stepped forward, her eyes glowing with determination. "I can boost the barriers, but it will drain me." Jack grabbed her arm, concern etched on his face. "Are you sure? We need you." She nodded, resolute. "It's the only way. Trust me, Jack." With a deep breath, Seraphina raised her hands, her body radiating energy. The barriers flared brighter, pushing back the Korgath forces. The temporary reprieve allowed the defenders to regroup and counterattack, but the cost was evident. Seraphina collapsed, her strength depleted. Jack caught her, his heart pounding with fear. "Hang on, Seraphina, we need you." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with pain and determination. "Fight, Jack, for all of us." The battle raged on, the outcome uncertain. But in that moment, Jack knew they had to fight with everything they had. The fate of the Zolari and perhaps the entire galaxy depended on their resolve. Amidst the chaos and relentless fighting, Jack couldn't shake the memory of Seraphina's collapse. He knew she was hiding something about her powers, something that could be vital to their survival. When the immediate threat had passed, he sought her out in the Zolari's medical facility. Seraphina lay on a biobed, pale and weak but conscious. Dr. Vasquez and Zolari healers hovered nearby, administering treatments. "How is she?" Jack asked, his voice tinged with worry. Dr. Vasquez looked up, her expression serious. "She's stable for now, but using her powers like that takes a significant toll on her. She needs rest." Jack approached Seraphina, his gaze softening. "You shouldn't have pushed yourself so hard." Seraphina smiled weakly. "I did what was necessary, but there's something you need to know, Jack." She took a deep breath, gathering her strength. "The powers I possess are a legacy of my ancestors, a gift passed down through generations, but using them comes at a great cost. Each time I tap into them, it drains my life force. If I push too far, I may not survive." Jack's heart sank. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because it doesn't change our situation," she replied, her voice firm. "We need every advantage we can get to fight the Korgath. My powers could be the difference between victory and defeat." Jack nodded, understanding the gravity of her sacrifice. "We'll find another way. You don't have to bear this burden alone." Seraphina's eyes shone with gratitude. "Thank you, Jack. Together, we will find a way." The battle against the Korgath continued with relentless intensity. Jack's crew and the Zolari fought valiantly, but the enemy's numbers seemed endless. The city was on the brink of falling when Seraphina, despite her weakened state, made a crucial decision. "Jack," she said, her voice steady despite her fatigue, "I need to create a massive energy barrier to hold back the Korgath. It will buy us time to regroup and launch a counter-offensive." Jack hesitated, knowing the toll it would take on her. "Are you sure you can do it?" She nodded. "I have to. It's our only chance. With the help of the Zolari healers, Serafina positioned herself at the heart of the city. Jack and his team formed a protective perimeter around her, determined to give her the time she needed. Serafina closed her eyes, focusing her energy. The air crackled with power as she extended her hands, creating a shimmering barrier that enveloped the city. The Korgath forces slammed against it, unable to penetrate the shield. Jack watched in awe as Serafina held the barrier, her face etched with concentration and pain. "Hold the line," he shouted to his troops. "We need to keep them off her." The defenders fought with renewed vigor, inspired by Serafina's sacrifice. The barrier gave them a crucial respite, allowing them to regroup and prepare for the next phase of the battle. As the defenders caught their breath and strategized their next move, an unexpected betrayal threatened to unravel everything they had fought for. A faction within the Zolari, led by a disillusioned elder named Valtor, believed that surrender was the only option. They viewed Serafina's powers as a dangerous gamble that could doom them all. One night, under the cover of darkness, Valtor and his followers sabotaged the city's defenses. They disabled several key energy nodes, causing the barrier to flicker and weaken. Jack's crew and the loyal Zolari scrambled to repair the damage, but the breach allowed the Korgath to gain a foothold. "Valtor, what have you done?" Serafina demanded, her voice filled with anguish as she confronted the elder. "I'm saving our people," Valtor retorted. "This war is unwinnable. We must negotiate for peace, not throw away our lives on a futile fight." Jack stepped forward, fury in his eyes. "You've doomed us all. We were holding them back." Before the argument could escalate, the Korgath attacked through the weakened barrier. Jack and his team were forced to defend the breach, fighting desperately to push the invaders back. Amid the chaos, Serafina struggled to maintain the barrier, her strength waning. The betrayal and ensuing breach pushed the defenders to their limits, but it also ignited a fierce determination to fight back. Jack knew they needed to rally their forces and restore hope if they were to survive. He gathered the remaining leaders, both human and Zolari, in a hastily assembled war council. "We've faced betrayal and near defeat, but we can't give up now," Jack said, his voice resonating with conviction. "We've proven that we can stand together. We have the strength to turn the tide." Serafina, still recovering from her exertions, addressed the council. "Valtor's actions have cost us dearly, but we must not let his fear dictate our fate. We fight for our home, for our future. Let this be our rallying cry." Inspired by their leaders, the defenders rallied. They fortified their positions, repaired the damaged defenses, and prepared for a renewed assault. Jack's crew led the efforts, their experience and determination a guiding light for the Zolari. As the Korgath regrouped for another attack, Jack gave a fiery speech to the assembled troops. "Today, we stand as one. We fight not just for survival, but for the right to live free from tyranny. For Serafina, for our fallen comrades, and for the future of our worlds. Let's show the Korgath what we're made of." The cheers of the defenders echoed through the city, a testament to their unbreakable spirit. The Korgath launched their most devastating assault yet, determined to crush the defenders once and for all. The sky darkened with enemy ships, and the ground shook with the impact of their weapons. Jack, Serafina, and their allies braced themselves for the onslaught. The battle was fierce and unrelenting. The defenders fought with everything they had, their desperation fueling their resolve. Jack and Serafina led from the front, their presence a beacon of hope amid the chaos. As the Korgath forces pushed closer to the heart of the city, Jack knew they needed a decisive move. "We have to take out their command ship," he told Serafina. "If we can disrupt their leadership, we might turn the tide." Serafina nodded, her eyes burning with determination. "I'll need your help, Jack. Together, we can do this." They gathered a strike team and launched a daring assault on the Korgath command ship. The mission was perilous, every step fraught with danger. Inside the ship, they faced fierce resistance, but their combined skills and determination carried them forward. Jack and Serafina fought their way to the command center, where they confronted the Korgath warlord, a towering figure clad in menacing armor. The final battle was brutal, a test of strength and will. As Jack engaged the warlord in a deadly duel, Serafina used her remaining energy to sabotage the ship's systems. The warlord's power was overwhelming, but Jack fought with the ferocity of a man with everything to lose. In a final, desperate move, Jack managed to land a decisive blow, incapacitating the warlord. "Serafina, now!" he shouted. Serafina unleashed her powers, causing the ship's core to overload. "We have to get out of here," she yelled, grabbing Jack's arm. They raced against time, barely making it to their escape pods as the command ship exploded in a blinding flash of light. The destruction of the command ship sent shockwaves through the Korgath forces, sowing chaos and confusion. Back on the ground, the defenders seized the moment. With the Korgath leadership in disarray, they launched a coordinated counteroffensive, pushing the invaders back and reclaiming lost ground. The battle was won, but the cost had been high. The city lay in ruins and many lives had been lost. Yet, as the smoke cleared and the echoes of battle faded, there was a sense of victory. They had faced the impossible and emerged triumphant. Jack stood with Serafina, looking out over the battlefield. "We did it," he said, his voice filled with both relief and sorrow. Serafina nodded, her eyes reflecting both the pain of their losses and the hope for the future. "Yes, we did. And we'll rebuild, stronger than before." The alliance between humanity and the Zolari had been forged in the crucible of war, and together they would face whatever challenges the future held. The aftermath of the battle left the city in ruins, but the morale among the defenders was soaring. However, Jack and Serafina knew that their victory was not yet complete. The Korgath warlord, though incapacitated, was still alive, and his forces, while scattered, could regroup. "We need to end this," Jack said, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the remnants of the Korgath forces were retreating. "We need to make sure the Korgath can never threaten us again." Serafina, still weakened but determined, agreed. The warlord must be dealt with. If he recovers, he will rally his forces and return even stronger. Jack and Serafina, along with a select team of their best fighters, made their way to the makeshift prison where the warlord was being held. The prison was a fortified structure, guarded by both Zolari and human soldiers. Inside, the warlord was restrained, his massive form bound by energy shackles. Despite his injuries, his eyes burned with a fierce hatred. As Jack and Serafina approached, he snarled, his voice dripping with contempt. "You think you've won, but this is just the beginning. My people will avenge me." Jack stepped forward, his expression hard. "Your reign of terror ends now. You will answer for the lives you've taken." The warlord laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Do you think killing me will stop the Korgath? We are warriors. We live for battle. My death will only inspire them to fight harder." Serafina's eyes narrowed. "Your people follow strength. If we defeat you here, now, they will see that their leader is not invincible." With a nod from Jack, the guards released the warlord from his restraints. The duel that followed was intense, a brutal clash of strength and skill. Jack and Serafina fought together, their movements perfectly synchronized. The warlord, though formidable, was no match for their combined might. As the warlord fell, defeated, he uttered a final defiant curse. "You may have won today, but the Korgath will never stop. We will return." Jack looked down at the fallen warlord, his expression resolute. "We'll be ready." With the warlord defeated, the tide of the battle had truly turned. The remaining Korgath forces, leaderless and demoralized, began to retreat. However, Jack and Serafina knew that their victory was still fragile. The threat of the doomsday device the warlord had mentioned loomed over them like a dark cloud. As they scoured the battlefield, they found evidence of the device hidden within the wreckage of the Korgath command ship. It was a massive weapon, capable of destroying the entire planet. The countdown had already begun. "We don't have much time," Jack said, his voice urgent. "We need to deactivate this thing, now." Serafina studied the device, her face pale with worry. "I can contain the explosion, but it will require all of my remaining energy. I might not survive." Jack's heart pounded. "There has to be another way. We can't lose you." Serafina placed a hand on his arm, her touch gentle. "Jack, this is my duty. My people need me to do this, and so do yours." With tears in his eyes, Jack nodded. "Then let me help you. We'll do this together." Serafina took a deep breath, focusing her energy. As she began to channel her powers, Jack worked alongside her, using his technical skills to try to disarm the device. The seconds ticked away, each one bringing them closer to disaster. In a final, desperate effort, Serafina unleashed her full power, creating a barrier around the device. The explosion was contained, the massive energy burst absorbed by Serafina's barrier. But the strain was too much. As the barrier dissipated, Serafina collapsed, her strength spent. Jack caught her, his heart breaking. "Serafina, stay with me, please." She smiled weakly, her eyes filled with a peaceful acceptance. "We did it, Jack. The galaxy is safe." As she slipped into unconsciousness, the defenders realized the true cost of their victory. The battle was won, but the price had been high. The destruction of the Korgath warlord and the containment of the Doomsday device marked the end of the immediate threat, but the aftermath of the battle was grim. The city lay in ruins, and countless lives had been lost. Among the casualties was Serafina, her fate uncertain as she lay in a deep coma-like sleep. Jack stood beside her bed in the medical facility, his heart heavy with grief and exhaustion. Dr. Vasquez and the Zalari healers worked tirelessly to stabilize her, but her condition remained critical. "She's strong," Dr. Vasquez said, trying to offer comfort. "If anyone can pull through this, it's Serafina." Jack nodded, his eyes never leaving Serafina's peaceful face. "She saved us all. We owe her everything." The days that followed were a blur of activity. The defenders began the arduous task of rebuilding, their determination to restore their city and honor their fallen comrades driving them forward. Human and Zalari worked side by side, their bond strengthened by the trials they had endured together. Valter, the elder who had betrayed them, was brought to justice. He faced a tribunal where his actions were condemned. In a rare moment of unity, both human and Zalari leaders agreed on his punishment: exile. Valtor would be banished, his betrayal a warning to all who might consider treachery in the future. Despite the challenges, there was a sense of hope among the survivors. They had faced the Korgath and emerged victorious. Now, they looked to the future, determined to build a new world where both species could thrive. The process of rebuilding was slow and arduous, but it also brought the humans and Zalari closer together. They shared their knowledge and resources, creating a city that was a blend of both cultures. The structures that rose from the rubble were a testament to their unity and resilience. Jack took on a pivotal role in the reconstruction efforts. His leadership during the battle had earned him the respect of both the Zalari and his own crew. He worked tirelessly, coordinating the efforts to rebuild homes, infrastructure, and defenses. The Endeavor, though damaged, was repaired and upgraded with Zalari technology. It became a symbol of their alliance, a vessel that could explore the stars and defend their newfound peace. As the city began to take shape, Jack found himself spending more time by Serafina's side. Her condition remained unchanged, but he refused to give up hope. Each day he would sit with her, sharing stories of their progress and the dreams they had for the future. One evening, as he sat by her bedside, he took her hand in his. "Serafina, we need you. I need you. Please come back to us." To his astonishment, her fingers twitched. Her eyes fluttered open, and she looked at him with a weak but determined gaze. "Jack?" Tears of relief filled his eyes. "You're awake. We thought we lost you." She smiled faintly. "I'm still here. We have much to do." Serafina's recovery was slow but steady. Her strength returned, and with it, her determination to lead her people into a new era. She and Jack continued to work together, their bond stronger than ever. Years later, Jack stood at a memorial dedicated to those who had fallen in the battle against the Korgath. The names of the brave men and women, both human and Zalari, were etched into the stone. At the center of the memorial was a statue of Serafina, her likeness capturing the strength and grace that had inspired them all. Serafina joined him, her presence a comforting warmth. "We did it, Jack. We built a new world." He nodded, pride swelling in his chest. "Yes, we did, and it's only the beginning. Together we'll explore the stars and face whatever challenges come our way." The alliance between humanity and the Zalari had grown into something more profound. They had forged a future where both species could thrive, their shared experiences binding them together. The city, now a thriving metropolis, stood as a beacon of hope and unity. Jack and Serafina looked out over the city, their hearts filled with hope. They knew that the galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers, but they were ready to face it together. Their legacy would be one of courage, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between two worlds. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the city, they stood side by side, ready to embrace the future.